Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now guys, a lot of you may or may not recall, but during the George Bush era, there was a particular type of language that was coming out of the United States then. And that sort of language is usually a precursor to the United States taking an action, a really strong action against a particular country. And that sort of language is sort of like the language of axis of evil is one of the terms that they were using then. So they came up with this term, with this terminology, axis of evil, and then they place countries that they are wanting to weigh against on that list of that axis of evil countries, and then of course they subsequently take actions against those countries. So now fast forward now to this present regime that they have in America, the Donald Trump regime. And guys, I bring you this. Buhari response to U.S. visa ban constitutes committee. So the United States now is now putting Nigeria on the list of countries that they're applying visa bans to. So it's a particular type of visa that they're banning. So it's not a sweeping right across the board ban, but I think it's a migrant visa that they're especially targeting in this opening salvo. So again, the headline: Buhari responds to U.S. visa ban constitutes committee. So now let's now see what the Mallam is doing to weigh against Donald Trump. President Muhammadu Buhari has constituted a committee to be chaired by the Minister of Interior, Raufu Aregbesola, to study the reason why the United States banned Nigerians from its immigration visa. According to a statement by the President's Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Mr. Femi Adesina, in Abuja on Saturday, the committee will work with the United States government, Interpol, and other stakeholders to ensure all updates are properly implemented. The president further charged the committee to look at the real reason President Donald Trump banned Nigerians from U.S. immigration visas. He reiterated the commitment of Nigeria towards maintaining productive relationships with the United States of America and its international allies, especially on matters of global security. News agency of Nigeria NAN reports that the United States Department of Homeland Security DHS on January the 31st announced temporary travel restrictions on 6 countries, including Nigeria. For Nigeria, the restriction is the suspension of the issuance of immigrant visas to Nigerian passport holders only. This suspension shall come into effect from February the 21st. The suspension does not apply to other U.S. visas, such as those for official, business, tourism, and student travel. According to the DHS, the suspension of the immigrant visas became necessary following a review and update of the methodology adopted by the United States government to assess compliance of certain security criteria by foreign governments. It stated that this resulted in certain enhancements on how information is shared between Nigeria and the United States. So that really is the long and short of it. But the real hub of the story, of course, is this visa ban now that Nigeria has been put on. You recall not that long ago that Nigeria was put on a list of countries of concern, especially when it pertains to Christians. So this was barely 6-7 months ago that the United States made this move, that Christians were being persecuted, and they were describing Nigeria then as a country of concern. Now they have put this travel ban on, and it is a travel ban on migrants. So there's a proviso there, so it's a qualified travel ban. But then of course you can see the drip effect, and you can see where this drum beat is leading to and the dance that they're looking to take place. So we started off with that thing that they did under the George Bush era with the terminology axis of evil, and then what subsequently happened as a result of that. So now this is now a similar set play, of course, because you can see how this thing aligns with that particular template. So first they say you're a country of concern, and then they're now putting minor travel restrictions on it. And by the way, those travel restrictions that they are describing as minor is actually very major on the streets of Nigeria, because the big and the small, the long and the short, everybody is swept up in this now. There's a Nigerian comedian called Bovi. His wife was denied a visa. Pastor Oyedepo, he was denied allegedly a visa, you know. So now this thing is now taking real firm footing now in Nigeria. And you know how much Nigerians love to travel, especially to the United States of America and to the United Kingdom. And you can bet your bottom dollar that if the Americans are taking this position, it wouldn't be a minute before the British start to take this position too, especially now that the British have come out of the European Union and they now make their decisions for themselves. And of course, you know how Boris Johnson aligns himself with Donald Trump. So it's a drip effect, and this really is a real footnote again in the direction that Mallam Buhari is taking that country. Conversations in the comment section. Mallam Buhari has set up a committee to look into the reasons why the Americans are saying that they don't want Nigerians in their country anymore. I don't really think you need a committee to know that. I think the reasons are pretty obvious, and the writing was on the wall when Donald Trump described the Nigerian president then as lifeless. You will recall, of course, that Donald Trump has never really had time for this Buhari sort of a character. Remember when Buhari went to America and they had all that photo opportunity thing, and they were saying they went to buy aeroplanes and whatnot, not aeroplanes, fighter jets. So you recall when he had that photo opportunity in the Rose Garden, in the White House and whatever, and you had all these Femi Adesina and Garba Shehu and the rest of them coming back to Nigeria to make a lot of political capital out of that. And not long after that visit, it was reported in Washington Post, no less a prestigious publication. So it was very difficult then for them to describe it as fake news. So it was either Washington Post or New York Times. It was one of the two. At least a publication of that pedigree was the one that then came out to say that the president of America described Buhari as lifeless when he met him, that he had the sense that the guy was lifeless. And this is really the thing that then upset them, that, oh, we went to spend all this money in America and they are calling us lifeless. But then, of course, this now is in that ilk again. This new now visa ban on Nigerians now is in that ilk again, because these people, they are looking in the direction of Nigeria and they are not seeing anything other than some sort of a terrorist state being created effectively. This, we have to just get to that point to then have this sort of conversation. It's effectively some sort of a terrorist state that Mallam Buhari is creating, with all these heavily armed Fulani headsmen taking complete charge of the whole country. Where they're getting the arms from, nobody knows. Who is trying to stop them? Absolutely nobody, because the authorities have never once arrested one single one of these people, never mind prosecute one single one of these people. So the Americans are saying all these things, and they're hearing about Christians being persecuted all the time. So then, of course, it is now that language, even Nigeria itself actually lends itself then to that coloration of axis of evil. So it is that axis of evil language now that is now coming to bear again, at least its intonation, if not the actual verbatim of it, if not the actual verbalization of it. So this is now where the narrative is now going. But of course, this guy is setting up committee because he doesn't really understand what they are saying to him. Conversations in the comment section. How are you reading this travel ban by Donald Trump on Nigerians? This is really what this video is all about. Come share thoughts about all this with me in the comment section. The travel ban and Mallam Buhari's attempt at a response to it. Come, let's have a conversation about all this in the comment section. Click on the red subscribe button. So Click on the red subscribe button first, the bell button next, that notifies you every time I drop a new video. Then come, let's have a chat about all this in the comment section. So I'll leave you here, carry on with you in the comment section, but here I say peace.